It's starting from the research questions, short description about the methodology, references, I will skip the theoretical background and so on. And the other part of my presentation will be this case study about ERR, Estonian Public Service Broadcasting, and what aspects are related to the strategic decision that public service broadcasting is facing today. And the research question was defined in a very simple way. How do different external and internal factors or forces encourage or hinder transmedia production in Estonian public broadcasting? Public broadcasting is considered to be, what's the methodology? It's about what I have done. It's a documentary analysis and data about audiences and markets, different kind of reports, and at last the expert interviews. So theoretical background, maybe it starts also from the castles and maybe a little bit of Ulrich Beck Risk Society. But the basic starting point is that, let's say, half of a century public service broadcasting of nowadays public service media has been the main media institution, but it's not the case anymore. The private commercial sector took over the position in the 90s and it's growing, and today the social media, it's the biggest player on the media field in overall, meaning that public service media is left on a third position. And what are the media influencers on media institutions are described by Dennis McQuail. It's the economics, politics and technology, of course, and I will add on top of this, or that's a background layer, also socio-cultural background. What is the role of public service media? It's an introduction of the public service media. Will take a couple of slides, but it's important to keep in mind what we're talking about. And Jared Love describes the four cultural functions of public service broadcasting as described here. It's a beneficial social agent, it's a robust discursive medium, it's essential civil society organization, and in the fourth place it's democratic mediation for intercultural communication. When we're taking European backgrounds, in European Council describes public service broadcasting from 5 aspects. It's a reference point as a factor for social cohesion, forum for public discussion, different ideas, beliefs, mutual understanding, impartial independent information source, and both broad audiences and minority groups are presented in this one. What is this is quite nice starting points. What is actual impact of European Union? And then I will take. I must say in the beginning the full disclaimer that I strongly believe that EU is a right union and it must develop, and I'm not against EU, but there are some buts. If we will take the history of as it was defined by Karol Jakubowicz, the Europeanization process, which meant that we will facing the situation when Western European model was embedded into Eastern European environment, and it didn't work well. And the second point is that pan-European media policy overall aims are preserving cultural diversity and safeguarding media pluralism, which is quite okay, and that's no arguments against this one. But there is a free market liberal approach, which was supported by European media policy, which is a common market ideology. The private ownership of media was also idealized by ruling politicians. At least this was the case for Baltic countries and most of the countries in Eastern Europe. Now, the political factors. The question stands, and it's still not answered. European Union, is it supporting culture or is it mainly supporting commerce? A simplified approach towards European media policy can be described from 2 angles. On one hand, the role of European Union media policy is a secure media system to promote pluralism, democracy, social cohesion and freedom of expression. And on the other hand, the commercial interests of private stakeholders and common market regulation must be guaranteed. Now it's a question about balanced coexistence of public service broadcasting and commercial media. But still, European media policy doesn't not consider the different historical, political, cultural and economic backgrounds in Eastern and Central European countries when comparing them to Western Europe. Furthermore, EU media policy also doesn't not account for the specific needs of culturally more fragile and vulnerable small countries which possess fewer resources. Debates over public service funding, the pressure of cost saving and the need for efficiency are apparent in all European countries. The political administrative system sees economical foremost as a liberal and needing as little regulation as possible. At the same time, regulation is necessary to guarantee the public sector media broadcast activities. The basis of this conflict is the scarce legitimacy of the public service broadcasting in the political administrative systems. These are the same points again. From this slide, I would like to underline that the European Commission has a stronger influence on the member states shaping their internal media policies than other European institutions. When European Council is supporting in all documents public service broadcasting and enhancing its policies, then on the other hand, European Commission is very strongly supporting free market and commercial institution. And European Union will not draw any guidance that would specify the financial support towards public service broadcasting, or that would be compulsory for the nation-state legislation. This means that we are facing a situation when European Court is dealing issues when public service broadcasting has been supported in financial terms in a bigger amounts than it's allowed, but there is no court cases when dealing with the cases when public service broadcasting is not financed enough. So the discussion point here. The European Commission treats the public service media in the same way as all other businesses in the market economy. The European Commission is also willing to put public service under market rules. The political administrative system primarily views the economic, including the media economy, as a liberal and as needing as little regulation as possible. However, regulation is also necessary to guarantee the public sector activities. So, just to finish with this section, the second point is important one. There is no binding legal EU regulation towards public service broadcasting. Decisions on remit, funding model and funding level of public service broadcasting are totally left on member states. There is no common public service model or standard which applies to all countries. So, coming closer to Estonia, what is happening with public service broadcasting in Estonia? Then, starting from varieties of capitalist framework, Estonia is described as a very liberal market economy state. It's the same situation actually in all Baltic countries. But what is, and the second point, we must take into account also the size of the market. Here in Baltics we are all from very small countries. In one hand, the small size of the market has been an advantage in building up Estonian e-state, but a disadvantage where national journalism is concerned. Moving from politics to the economy and to the market. The market size determines available resources. In smaller member states there are fewer resources available, that's obvious. If the market is big enough for profitable business and resources are available, the main overall media tasks, variety, pluralism, etc. are fulfilled and launch of niche media outlets will follow. This is not the case for the smaller markets. In several research have shown that dependency of countryside and public service funding it's described as a question of critical mass. Smaller the country, more funding is needed for a public service broadcasting or public service at all. How is the real situation? The paradox of the small market is that fewer players on the market with less competition might widen the offerings and serve the public interest better. We're talking about the regulation and putting resources into, or putting eggs into one basket only. So, what is the market, how the market looks in Estonia? Are we offering good media services or not? The key players, Modern Times Group, it's present also in Lithuania and Latvia, and then we have two Estonian media companies which 100% belong to Estonian owners. First one is Eesti Meedia, Estonian Media. It used to be a Norwegian capital, Norwegian company, and the second one, Express Group, which runs a Delfi portal in several countries. It used to be a Bonnier Group company, but now the management payout or buyout had made these companies Estonian, totally Estonian ones. And then we have a radio group, Sky Plus, which runs the radio stations. And then we have a public service broadcasting. Now, what is offering the landscape of Estonia? How many channels or how many TV channels, radio stations, newspapers and so we have? And as you can see from this slide, there are not too many. We have just 2 daily newspapers. On free-to-air television, in the commercial side, we have just 2 channels. On pay TV, we have a little bit more. On internet, a little bit more. On public service, which is the column on the right side, you can see we are offering 2 television channels, 4 national radio channels, and internet television and so on, meaning that we are talking about just a couple of institutions who are playing on such a small market, but still we are facing a huge problem with resources. About public service media in Estonia. Oh, sorry, this slide. This is overall. In the left side, this is which is licensed by Estonia, and in right side, the column is all the channels which are available, the main channels which are available on the cable networks, and these which are underlined, they have Estonian translation, subtitles or a voiceover. The red channels, which are very popular ones, and I will come to these ones too, are the Russian TV channels. Even the BBK, the Pervy Baltiski canal, can't be considered a Russian one, but in this sense we're taking it in as a Russian. And the blue ones here, these are the Italy and the other countries. This is a landscape. But the main competition, it's public service 2 channels and the commercial 2 channels, 2 and 3, and the rest are on under the pay-fall or pay platform. What is the market shares? The market shares here, the blue describes Estonian television, which has the biggest channel from the biggest market share amongst local channels. In the second place, it's channel 2 plus 11 and 12. And the third place is TV3, the company which is owned by Modern Times Group. Share of viewing, you can see on the left side, these are the Estonian national channels and the market shares, and on the right side, the red columns are the Russian language channels and the other channels described. So public service has a quite good position in this sense. But comparing the position with other public service channels in European Union, here we can see the trend line. When the peak 5 public service broadcasting of Europe, peak 5 countries and the Nordic countries are described, and they have the market share close to the 40% or a little bit higher even. And here in Baltic countries we are between the around 15% of the market share, meaning that we are lagging behind of Western European or Nordic public service broadcasting, and the position is not so good. If we will take into account also the GDP per capita, then we can divide Europe into 4 areas. here we can see these are the rich countries and where the public service broadcasting has a highest share of viewing. This also the Nordic countries are here. Norway is not in a scale because it's a little bit more right, and the GDP per capita was too far away from the other countries. That's the reason they are missing in here, but they exist. And in other hand, we are here. What is our position? We have a low share of viewing and we have a low GDP per capita. So, everybody will recognize where we are. I mean, Estonians at least. Comparing the buying power, and this is a latest survey made by EBU. It's data about 2012, and this is not the GDP, but the funding of public service broadcasting based on the buying power. And here, Estonia is also not in the top countries of EBU members. So, moving towards the technology. In what technology is used for public service broadcasting? Mainly, it is, not mainly, it's 46% of the television is delivered over the cable networks, and 23% it's a terrestrial television, which is fully digital. There is no analog transmission anymore. Then the green one, it's a Viasat platform, and the yellow one, it's internet television provided by Estonian Telecom or Telesonera, which is a Swedish-Finnish company. Why it's important? Now when I'm talking about fundings and the funds available in the media business, the telecom sector plays a key role here. This chart describes the turnovers and profit of television and telecommunication companies. The big blue column here, it's turnover of Estonian Telecom. And here, down here, you can see these are the turnovers of our TV channels. This is a channel 2, TV3. This is total Estonian public service broadcasting turnover, and this is other cable operator. And this is Estonian Telecom. And here are the profits. This is a profit from Estonian Telecom, and compared to all turnover of Estonian public broadcasting. It's 5 times bigger. It's a profit from telco sectors than the turnover of public service broadcasting. And here are the profits of mobile operators, which are also providing our content. So, in 2012, the total turnover in million euros for the telecom sector was above 600 million euros, and the total television or broadcasting business was close to 50 million euros. That's a huge difference, and the main business is done in the telecommunication sector, not in the broadcasting. And the situation has changed dramatically during the last 25 years. It was opposite situation in the beginning of 90s. Second aspect, what we must take into consideration is relation to the market powers. And after the 2008 crisis, advertising market is still quite in a quite still bad position, meaning that commercial broadcasters have a difficult times to continue. And if to divide it between the total market between television and the other media outlets, and we can see that television is slightly recovering, and the internet is today internet is quite close to the, or actually it's already in the same position as it was before the crisis, but television is still lagging behind. And internet will take over the position of the main advertising outlet, I believe, quite soon. It won't take more than 5 years to be a first one. So, in media we're talking about the business of scale. Now, just to make it more entertaining, if we will take a Game of Thrones, so 10 episodes, 450 minutes, costs $45 million, $100,000 per minute. Nice business. When we take Estonian Public Service Broadcasting, 2 TV channels, 5 radio channels, internet portal, and so on, and other activities, how much money we have. 7.4 euros per minute. A little bit less than United States or Game of Thrones. So we are not on a throne. But we're survived. We're surviving. What is political relations to funding of public service broadcasting in Estonia? This is correlation between state budget costs and the percentage from the state. This is a percentage of funding from the state budget costs dedicated to public service broadcasting. And this line is, and the scale is here, the state budget costs in billion euros. You can see the correlation is very clear. The state budget is increasing, but the importance of public service broadcasting is decreasing very clearly, and the trend will continue. Another aspect, this is a profit of commercial channels. This is a zero line, and this is a profitable time, and this is the times when they have lost the money. Why we must take into consideration also this? Because these channels, when they are making a loss, they will have a huge impact on politicians. And we had the crisis in the end of 90s, the beginning of 2000s, when the law of public service broadcasting was changed due to the pressure of commercial sector, and we have the same situation also today. And so, moving further with TV trends, in one hand we can say that television it's still alive and kicking, but if we look into the trends of viewing, then we can see the differences between different age groups. And the elderly people are watching a little bit more, but the younger audience is moving away. Now, share of viewing, very briefly about, it's in public service broadcasting in last 7 years has increased, and the commercial sector has decreased their share of viewing. And the football again in this summer will definitely improve public service position even more. So, commercial sector is close to the crash, or is it the same also for public service broadcasting? Yes, we are facing a difficult time because television weekly reach is decreasing. We can see clearly that the audience is not anymore there. And we're talking about how many people during a 1 week, at least for 15 minutes, spend the time with public service broadcasting, and we can see that the number of people is declining very clearly, and we don't know what to do with that. It's a little bit complicated, the 2 next slides, but I hope I can explain it. Here in town you can see this is actually decades from 2003 for 2013, and this is decades by age groups, meaning this is people in age 4 to 14 in 2003 until 2013. And it shows about the viewing time and the universe, meaning that here this is a reach in the age groups, what has happened during the decades, and this is a time spent on a viewing. You can see that reach has coming down, and in same time the viewing has remained the same. The content is there, and people who still are with television, they are still there. But the problem is that the younger groups, especially here until the 45 or 50, they are going away from television. The time spending, this is still there, but less people are watching. And it's actually the same we can see in these groups too. But it's overall trend, and this is a total trend is here, that reach is declining from the 80% reach in 2003. Now it's close to 65% in 2013. And the viewing time remains the same. And that's the problem. What are the people doing there? Same, it's a question with the radio. Estonian Public Service, 3 main channels. In overall, we can see that a little bit declining, but it doesn't look very dramatic. But if we look again into weekly listening, then we can see absolutely the same as it was with a television. We can see that all media time, the time spent on a weekly time here, it's declining, and
both are declining very clearly, and it's the same, that the younger people are not with us anymore. I will skip this one, and I tried to make a really confusing slide. It's always nice to have something you don't understand, that I can say, oh, this is what I was talking about. I tried to figure out if people who lived in 90 or watched television in 97, and after 10 years or 20 years, are they still in this medium or not? And we can say that there is a slight correlation, that if we'll take this 10 years and leaps of 10 years and so on, moving towards this one, but it says that people who in the beginning of 90s started to watch television, they are a little bit more loyal to the medium than people who started to watch in later. That we can see that these age groups are not growing so fast. But I will skip, this is not so important, but important is that Estonian population, if we're talking about age groups, we can see that people in age 12 to 19, there are only 100,000, and the audience itself, when we're talking about the young audience, it's not very promising for the next decades to come. And here, the red one, it's about female audience, and the blue one, it's about men. And this is age, and you can see that the main audience here starts from somewhere here, and it's 50+ female audience, which is waiting or looking for media content from all the channels. What we're talking about now, it's a paradigm change. We're talking about internet. Now this survey is not about Estonia, but this is done by Ofcom about UK audience and most missed media, top 5 mentions among the adults. We can see that here, younger audience, what they are missing mostly is the use of smartphone. And elder audience watch television. And you can see this increasing by age, but as these people are getting older, they most probably will be very loyal to internet, and they don't care much about the television. Not talking about the radio, because radio has lost a position here, and the newspapers for people younger than 35, they don't exist anymore. Luckily, we are not in the newspaper business. No, but now back to Estonia and about internet usage. This is a slide about always the same age groups, and we can see that close to the 45, there is not much room for the frequent users to come more, to spend time on the internet. These are the frequent internet users, and the penetration is above 90%, 95%. And by year, it's increasing by all age groups, we can see. What kind of impact it might have on a public service broadcasting? If we take these radio slides, again, what I talked, it's overall media reach and the time spent. And adding on top of that internet usage, then we can see a clear correlation. So this is the internet usage during these decades in these age groups. And now we are in a moment that people in age of 45, 55 or 55, 64 already are spending much more time or are more addicted to internet than listening radio. And that's the trends of the Estonian public service radio for elder groups is also not a very promising one. And the reason for that, it's usage or the launch or the new phenomena of social networks. This data is about the United States market, but it's quite relevant also for European markets. So the social networks are dominant on the media sphere. And the important aspect is the news. It used to be so that the first source of the news was public service broadcasting. It's not the case anymore so much. Still, the television is a quite important source of information, but we can see that online online media and any digital news are increasing, and it quite soon will be so. The main source of news information will be online or a digital media, not television, and not talking about radio, especially when we're talking about the younger age groups, and it's already there. So, the news portals in Estonia. This is a short overview, and this is a list. Delfi, it's the most popular one, and then it's a Postimees and other one, and public service broadcasting with close to 200,000 users per week. It's on 10th or whatever position it is, and the Delfi, which has more than 500 today, actually it's close to the 600,000 users. It's 3 times bigger than Estonian Public Service Broadcasting. Just to try to make it a little bit more comparable with traditional media, to have the same currency on this one, we can talk that Delfi has a weekly reach close to 90%. The second daily newspaper with online version, it's above 80%. Yellow paper is a 37%, and Estonian Public Service Broadcasting has only 24% of the market share, which when in television we are in a first position, and also with the radio we are still strong, then on online world we are not so strong at all. So this next steps. When printed newspapers started with online versions, it was about copying the information from the paper to the web. Nowadays, they are also producing a lot of special content, and the newest trend is to launch TV channels. This is an example of a Postimees television, and we also have Delfi as a television, as you know. And they are not anymore newspapers, they are media companies online. And they are producing the original content which is competing with public service channels. The question now is maybe there is a problem with audience measurement. Maybe we don't just know that people are following our programs on other channels. And in one hand, it might be even a case, because television is measured by the people meters, what we have, the data. And we trust on the data. But the problems are that, at least in Estonia, we don't have data about online viewing. We don't today have data about video-on-demand services. It will come in September with new platform. And we don't have data about viewing on portable devices from the people meters. Traditional radio, we have this quarterly diaries, which is quite old-fashioned way to ask about media consumption and to have the data, and 4 months later what something has happened. It's talking about the time and the speed and accelerations. There is not too much we can do with this data, actually. And when with online media consumption, there is a lot of data available. There are a huge number of different kind of data. But there is no connection on census data. It's in online world, we are measuring the machines and the actions. We are not measuring the people, actually. We don't know who is behind the cookie and who is behind the browser and so on. And the problem is that we are missing this universal currency we could use for all media channels, and this is a problem, actually. Maybe the position of public service broadcasting is not so bad if we had a possibility to measure on the same basis also presence on the online media. So, and now the final part of my presentation, some milestones of public service broadcasting. It started slowly, and now the time has accelerated. That's true. The portals actually were introduced in first portal was launched in 1994 already, but of course it was a different web page if to compare what we have today. Today public service broadcasting has of course 24/7 news feeds. We have 9 main sub-portals and 17 thematic pages, live streaming of all program, and access to all archives. which are, of course, there is limitation with copyright, but still there is huge access is free. There is access free of charge for a huge part of Estonian public service broadcasters, both on radio and on television programs. In 2012, the mobile application was launched, has same functionalities, live streaming and access to archives and also video-on-demand services. So, but in a structure or in a company itself, this development has been hectic or not very well planned. Only in 2014 we have the social media editor actually in place. And we're happy that she defends the thesis on the subject, and at least she knows what she's speaking about. And only this year, and officially, our portals are defined as a third broadcast platform. So far, it has been supporting or a helping tool for television and radio. Today, we can officially say that we have 3 broadcast platforms. It's online, and online means both on mobile devices and PCs and laptops and so on, and television and radio. This is a quite huge step in understanding. Still, there is some confusion, as you can see, due to different reasons. All the web pages today have different layouts, and on a branding issue, it's not a very good one, but people are working on this one, and hopefully it will be solved quite soon. And this is description of a new layout. Our presence on the social media, all the main channels or the applications are used. The biggest today is a presence on Facebook and on YouTube, but also Twitter, Vimeo, SoundCloud, Spotify, Instagram, and Pinterest, and all these are used by different programs. It's a history of being present. We can say that Facebook is still the biggest. More 100 programs or radio or television programs have their own pages. The top page today has close to 50,000 likes. I don't know if it's big or small, but it's quite considerable number still. In YouTube, ERR branded channel was launched in the beginning of this year. It has 17,000 subscribers, but already you can see it 17.5 million views, which is quite an impressive number. 2 million of these are from Estonian rock band Winny Puhh, which launched an extraordinary Eurovision song. It didn't unfortunately win Estonian competition, but it still got the recognition all over the world by mistake. But this is another story. Actually, the mistake was that one editor a blogger in US made a mistake, and he thought that actually Winny Puhh won Estonian competition, and he was looking to see Winny Puhh on a Eurovision finals. And from this blog, a story went all over the world. But this is but this is another story. But 2 million impressions or 2 million views of one video, it's quite remarkable. And Twitter is not flying. We have tweets for a news broadcast and so on, but there are not too many followers. And SoundCloud is a quite new one, especially it's for gaining a younger audience. And they are putting a Radio 2, which is a more music radio style radio program. These shows are available on SoundCloud, and the Instagram is quite new, but it's not working well. So from the old-fashioned editing to the time-shifted radio, and about the potential. This is a list of radio shows and the number of streamed or downloads during 2013. From the 2 radio programs, and we can see this most successful program has 253,000 time-shifted actions. So people who have this program has been time-shifted 250,000 times, which is a huge amount. It's a huge amount. And the second one, it's a nighttime story. It's a bedtime story for children, and it's very convenient to people to put this on air on a tablet or from a mobile phone when you are babysitting, and just push a button, and it's used quite commonly. It's actually aired on 10 minutes to 9 at the evening, and the response from the qualitative survey was that this is too early. Children are not going to sleep at 9 o'clock anymore. It's a new normality, but time shifting helps parents, and they are using it a lot. The same, it's with television programs, we can see that it's not such a big numbers as ordinary viewers, but still it's increasing, and the important aspect here it's 1/3 of the audience is coming from abroad, meaning Estonians who are working in Finland or in other countries are still able to follow our programs. And this is examples of the web pages, but I will skip this one. So, problem from a technical side actually is that today we are focusing all our resources in one medium, mainly in one medium, and meaning that the medium which has a less of computing power in it. We don't have programs dedicated for a laptops or a computers or a game consoles or so on, and it's big screens and less computing power. Here it's our technical focus in the moment, but it should be also directed into these areas, smaller screens and more computing power, and this is a challenge. Then we are facing the paradox personalization. We want service to be highly personalized and flexible, but we don't want to invest the effort or time necessary to set up personalization. Meaning that when we are using some devices, we expect that device will make the decisions for us. We had the times 10 years ago when you had the possibility to build up your web page and click and click and click and click, but people are not doing it. But still they would like to have very personalized information. And with public service broadcasting, meaning the broadcasting in a sense, this is difficult to do because the audience is looking for a narrowcasting actually. And the second point here is, oh, sorry, I skipped this one. It's about the complexity and the entrance levels of the programs, or readers, or viewers, or whatever, and production time. What we are facing here actually, it is a situation when the production time is very high, and the costs are very high, but there are not too many readers. If let's say this is academic book, for example, somewhere here, when you have a lot of time spent to do it, to publish it, but there are not too many readers. And this can be a social media when you have a lot of readers and time spent for content creation is a very minimal one. And to face this one. And how to deal with the situation, it's we are asking about the innovation. And the innovation, it's in two ways. It's a use of a new product or a production process. And in a case of the media, product innovation refers both to content and how it's made available to consumers, which are usually designed to change users' behavior, and users play a considerable role in innovation, as indicated most notably by the development of the concept of producer. And that's how we can use innovation. Now, this is a structure of Estonian Public Service Broadcasting, and here are the programs, editorial departments, production techniques, and here are in small numbers you can see the number of employees working in total. In total there are 680 full-time employees working in. And then we have in portals, which is portals here. It's one of the programs now, as I mentioned. These are 2 TV channels, the radio channels, and the portals. And here we have 43 persons working on this area. And on news, we have 108. This is news for radio and television, not for portals only. And then we have sports with 15 just to make some comparison of the number of people dedicated. So, in one hand, we can see that from this 680, we have 45 working for editorial stuff in the portals, which is a new achievement. It has changed dramatically during the last 1 year only. And when we are talking about here below, when we are talking about supports or IT development in this area, then in totally we have 28 people working for development, and this is also quite new. It used to be so that there was only one web editor for all web pages, but now it has changed. It's a little bit different when we're talking about the financial resources available, and it's about cost location. You can see that 8 million of the total 28 million budget is dedicated for a television, and the less than 1 million it's dedicated for portals. And this is portals. Portals development. Portals content for overall development is this. And radio, it's still bigger. It has quite big part, but the television is in the main focus. And at the end for my presentation, it's what about people working with this in this situation. And we made a qualitative research, 17 semi-structured interviews with management, different management level in public service broadcasting. And here you can see some of these citations. Head of program on Estonian television. When we asked about development of portals, they are saying that they have been working with this specific area quite a long time, but actually this is not the case in this sense. When we're talking about the cooperation, what happened now? Oh, it went. Then this was the head of television programs, saying that the cooperation is there, that it has been there for a long time. Then when we take perspective from the portal editor, they are thinking their position as support for our other programs, for radio and television. They are not considering them as equal. They are supporting radio and television. In one sense, of course, it's true, but radio is not thinking about radio as a support for television, or television is not thinking about television as support for radio, but it's a case for portals. Then middle management, they are looking into the online strategy in a point of view entertainment. Thinking about that the cross-media can be used for attraction of a younger audiences, because the traditional shows are not so interesting for a younger audience and they are not so entertaining. And the key word here is entertainment. And here it's head of the online services. It makes a parallel with Nokia, when Nokia is the biggest mobile phone company in a couple of years ago. It still was there, but they lost the momentum, and he is afraid that public service broadcasting is also missing the point, and we are in the same position as Nokia was on telephone markets, that we are strong in traditional media, but we are very weak on a new media. In radio management, they can see that there is a positive sides, or they consider portals as a positive development for a radio too. Then, when we're coming to the budget side, the limitation of the budget, this is the big questions, and when it comes at the expense of other things, then it means that there will be a fight for the money inside of the organization. That's the critical point. And then the next aspect is that the cross media or the online media, it's considered as a follow-up or something which takes place after the show. It's not the clear first-time priority. It's not developed in the same time frame. And there are some wishes to have more cross-media, but in reality, as this person says, that they just don't have a time to do with new medias. And the final slide here, it's talking about the process of organizing the integrated broadcasting, and the organization itself is stuck into the old structure. These are supporting the same, but and now the final slide. If we will take all these aspects together, and we could try to see two behaviors or two attitudes towards public service or transmedia innovation, then we can have in different level. In Estonian legislation, we can see in words, in rhetoric, they are supporting it, we can say. In practical level, it's not too much is happening. When we're talking about government is funding public service broadcasting. It's Estonian Public Service Broadcasting is funded 100% from state budget. In rhetoric, it's neutral, but in practice, it's not supportive. It doesn't give any extra funds for development of internet. Broadcasting Council, restrictive. And there are members who are representing commercial media, and that's very clearly restrictive. Board of Public Service Broadcasting, in rhetoric, it's supportive, and they are really trying to encourage people to work on these directions. But then it's a layer of top management. They are responsible for their area. Television is measured by TV viewing, radio is measured by radio listening, and they are fighting for their budgets. Middle management, they are doubtful. Producers, we can see some enthusiasm there, and what we can see that in a really ground zero level, there is some enthusiasm. All the web pages on Facebook and so on, they were created by these editors without any extra payments for that, or just they see as opportunity. So, if we'll take a budget is not supportive. Company structure, it's improving. We saw that there are new workplaces dedicated for portals and so on. Company culture, we can see in practice there are some enthusiasm, but in overall it's still quite neutral. And the biggest fight actually is from the private sector, from television and online newspapers and so on. They are quite restrictive towards all developments, and then audience, which is quite neutral. We can't see any reactions. And just to summarize it, everything together into one slide, we can see the influences on online strategy and the connections. It's starting from here, European Union, which is a background, but still it plays important role here, especially European Commission, a little bit less support from European Council. Then our government is relying especially from the European Commission directives and so on. And then the other relations, commercial broadcasters, of course, they are against online strategies. Commercial online outlets, of course, they are against, which are company internal forces. These are so and so, audience quite neutral. And what will be the next and the last slide? What will be the solution for the future? For a state question is regulate or not to regulate, if we're talking about market economy. Then what will be, if we don't have money, what will be the moral motivation for producers? And what will be the financial motivation? Can we have some extra funds from new services online? And to specific targets. It's in one hand we should enhance development in these directions, and in other hand we should avoid all damages we can do. Oh, that's what is a summary. But it's yeah. Of course, the quality and quality and quality, that is, and new partnerships, it's also